Happy New Year from the first hafta of 2026. Happy New Year, everybody, the panel.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. After a mob in Dehradun killed a 24-year-old from Tripura, a senior cop has claimed the attack on Angel Chakma occurred in the heat of the moment with no intent to kill.
It's a hate crime because of the sort of nature of racial slurs and of course what the victims are saying, that they were targeted, they were called Chinese. But the main accused is a Nepali boy. Now, if someone was not dead in this case, a Nepali calling somebody from Tripura Chinese Momo is just bizarre.
Like when I was in college, if you were at a party, you didn't have a chick, you beat up the guy who does. You haven't been invited to a party, you beat up the guys who have. That was it. The Jat gang, the Harry gang of DU, etc. We knew how each of them would react to any social gathering. And I'm not saying anyone is at fault or not. There are certain sociological reasons for that. That lot is in power today with So we cannot improve all. We don't know how to have a good time. I cannot dance at a party. I'll beat up the guy who's dancing. I cannot pull a chick. I'll beat up the guy who can. So those fuckers are in power and that's what they're doing. It's that simple.
There is no harm in being a Chinese. There is nothing wrong in being a Bangladeshi or being a Nepali or being a Bhutia from Bhutan. But then, what's really wrong in being them? If the point is, you otherize that person and then the attack basically legitimizes that person is subhuman. I think this is quite obvious that such attacks are being facilitated with the support of this overall sense of impunity that exists in our system, where very, very important voices that are shaping the social and the political discourse in our country are in some way or the other complicit in ensuring that sort of impunity.
What is happening in Bangladesh? What can India expect from the foreign policy point of view? What are the kind of scenarios that you envisage from your understanding of the region?
Officials that, I ask that, don't you want to have friendly relation with the government of Bangladesh? And the answer is often that, is this even a government? I mean, this government has not really proved itself well on the law and order platform. So I think India's position is very clear that India wants to have good relation with the people of Bangladesh. And what Mr. Jaishankar has done the last 48 hours by going and meeting Mr. Tariq Rahman, the leader of BNP, is that he has conveyed the message on behalf of the government of India that if Mr. Tariq Rahman wins the confidence of the people of Bangladesh, then he is going to be the next big partner from the Bangladeshi side as far as the government of India is concerned.
Gig economy, the economics of this, and what are the safety nets, etc., is an opportunity to really discuss and formalize it. But I don't know if any government or any FICCI or CII, I don't know what these organizations really do, these associations.
Greatest trick of consumerism is that it puts a veil over everything except the final product. I think this is what Marx calls commodity fetishism. You look at the product itself and not what has gone into it. And it's like in 19th century America, white people or whatever would very specifically be able to ignore slave labor because it was so normal and so widespread. And that is exactly how I feel like this is also functioning. You ignore and overlook or are inured to what goes into a product or a service.
In India, the police does not come in 10 minutes. The ambulance does not come in 10 minutes. The fire brigade does not come in 10 minutes. What is this hurry that your andas should come in 5 minutes?
Welcome to Chhota Hafta. Now, Chhota Hafta is but a small, chhota version of a complete weekly podcast, Newslaundry Hafta. The Newslaundry Hafta is where you get the week's news, what made the headlines, what didn't make the headlines, but the full version is available to subscribers only. And I don't mean YouTube subscribers, although YouTube subscribers are also very welcome, very, very grateful to you, but also to Newslaundry subscribers, the paying subscribers who pay to keep news free. So you can also become a paying subscriber by clicking the subscription link. Now, what do you get if you're a paying subscriber? You get access to all our paywall content, all interviews, podcasts, and importantly, you get access to a full unedited hafta, where you not only get to hear the week's news, but you get to hear the Newslaundry editors' positions on matters. You get to see their biases, what are their prejudices. It's an exercise in transparency while also informing you, and we have a few quips and jokes and agreements and disagreements thrown in. So listen to the full hafta, subscribe to Newslaundry, and pay to keep news free. Here we go.
अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज़लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Happy New Year from the first hafta of 2026. Happy New Year, everybody, the panel.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So
शुभकामनाएं नए
before
साल की सबको.
before I introduce the panel, our end of year offer is still open. Here is a QR code. There is a link in the show notes. You can subscribe and pay to keep news free. We give a discount at this time of the year every year. So you can make the most of your New Year resolutions of staying informed and actually funding news. In fact, I saw a very interesting video by Sham Singh Meena, which I can discuss later. But Happy New Year! And the year-ender campaign is still active for another couple of weeks, I think. So pay to keep news free, because when the public pays, the public is served. And when corporations and governments pay, corporations and governments are served. That is how it is. Right, let me introduce the panel to you. In the studio, Anand, Vardhan. Welcome,
Hello.
Anand. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jayashree joins us from Chennai.
Yes, hello.
Manisha joins from Dehradun.
Hello.
And Kallol Bhattacherjee, who is Senior Assistant Editor at The Hindu. Welcome, Kallol.
Thank you so much.
You join us from Agartala.
Yeah, a change, yeah.
So we got the country covered. How about that? We just need one person from Gujarat. Narendra Bhai, next time, please join us on Hafta if you have the time.
While you're in Gujarat.
When you're in Gujarat. So first of all, Manisha, what exactly happened in Dehradun? What is it like there? And we have Kallol in Tripura. He can maybe give us an idea of what is the outcome there.
I think that one of the things that are not been talked about enough in this case is the nature of this crime, where a couple of people get together, juveniles, some of them, their age is between 21 to 28. They decide to get drunk. They're celebrating a birthday, apparently. And to my mind, I think they would have done this to anyone there. It could have been a woman. They would have used some slur against a woman. It could have been a couple. It could have been a Muslim. I think the slur aspect comes once you're in a heated argument, then you use whatever is your deep-rooted prejudice to attack the person with. But the idea of these young people drinking, picking up a fight, it would have happened to anyone there, even if Angel was not there. And I think that is what is very dangerous about what is happening increasingly in our public spaces. And this is something that I got thinking from that Bajrang Dal attack that happened in Bareilly. There is no dignified space for people in India, youth especially, to have fun in a dignified way without getting into fights, without drinking.
But today what we are seeing is that despite the best efforts, we have these fissures that have a tendency to open up once in a while. And that memory of otherization, and that the people from the Northeast are not part of the mainstream continues to linger in some corner of the mainstream mind. And I think these are problematic issues. But having said that, I think there is a very big factor of impunity. And this particular boy would not have been attacked. I mean, we can't really do much about, human beings hating fellow human beings. It's an old problem for human civilization where people fight with each other, they harm each other. But then the law and order has to play the role of a deterrent force.
I think it's the thing with Tamil Nadu and Kerala is you can't dismiss these as outlier events. This notion that a state of millions of people is a monolith, I think, is a bit absurd, because it's a very relative thing, right? A progressive state has factors that distinguish it from less progressive states. But also look at how deeply entrenched caste violence and discrimination is in Tamil Nadu. Look at the insanity of gender violence in Tamil Nadu. The Dilip case that we discussed for so long was just one of lakhs of cases. And it was only the most extreme of cases, which is why we even talked about it. I think when there is poverty, unemployment, and deprivation, it's very easy to direct anger towards outsiders. I think Ireland is a great example of this. A rich country that's known to be most welcoming and most generous of all the European states. And look at the level of racism in Ireland. Whenever there is suffering, that's sort of like a golden opportunity to direct your anger towards an outsider. And I think this is a pattern that we're seeing the world over. I think in a lot of cases, unscrupulous politicians will exploit it, like how Seeman does in Tamil Nadu. But also, I think it is a fact that our discomfort that these lynchings happen in states like Tamil Nadu and Kerala is because we're like, that these institutions exist to protect.
Revolution, arson, free for all, whatever you want to call it. Then there seemed that some sort of a caretaker government under Yunus's leadership is set up. He has been a complete disaster from a governance point of view. And those young people who I thought was real unusual to have 20-somethings in positions of power and governance, then there was a lull, then again there's the violence, then again there's a lull. Is there any outcome that, from a foreign policy point of view, our MEA would have thought of? We hear that America is behind this. Is anyone behind this? Is it just a general breakdown of law and order?
Then I think what I feel is that perhaps from day one, we did not understand what was actually happening inside Bangladesh. Because if we go back in time, then we see there were a lot of things happening inside Bangladesh, even during Sheikh Hasina's time. She more or less mainstreamed the madrasa education. On the one hand, there was a lot of economic development, and all these economic developments were essentially profit driven. The textile industry and others were large number of Bangladesh, the women population, which provides very cheap labor. So the women of Bangladesh were working without any social security and any support mechanism. So when young mothers were going to work in these factories, one of the very famous tragedy that happened in Bangladesh is the Tazreen factory collapse in Bangladesh, where lots and lots of women and of course men died in that tragedy. The fact is, when these young mothers went to work, they didn't have any creche support. They didn't have any child support system back in their, mufassils and villages, where the state could come and say that you can go to your factory to work, but your little child will be under care of the state. So what the young mothers would do is that they would basically deposit the child with the nearest madrasa, which was coming up with the support of the Bangladesh government under Sheikh Hasina. And these young boys would then get groomed in a particular ideology, which by the time they were in their teens and in their, say, early 20s and mid 20s, like they were in 2024, turned into very specifically anti-Hasina rhetoric.
How would you assess Muhammad Yunus's role in all of this? Is he complete? I mean, is he just a figurehead who has no idea what's happening, or is he in charge and leading the attack on bureaucracy, like you're saying?
Manisha, when the first time I went after this chaos was in last August, not last August, but 2014 August, 24 August. And when I came back, I watched this film called Invictus. I don't know if you have seen this film. It's about Nelson Mandela when he becomes the president of South Africa, finds that the whites and the blacks are ready to massacre each other. And Nelson Mandela finds this rugby match around which he unites his entire country. And all the people of South Africa come together and celebrate their country, their newly earned post-apartheid freedom. And I think Muhammad Yunus has really disappointed Bangladesh and his admirers. I mean, I've gone to universities and think tanks in the world where his photograph is displayed prominently, because he is a success story from Grameen Bank and etc. But I think he has failed to bring the country together. There has not been the kind of reconciliation that was expected, because he was the person who could have brought that sense of reconciliation between these various warring sections inside Bangladesh. But that hasn't happened under him, and that's tragedy.
The big problem and challenge for us is gig work, by its very definition, is supposed to be a gig. It's something you do while something more concrete, stabilizing, materializes for you. So I'm in between jobs. I'm waiting for my job, my final offer, my contract. I want to make a little bit of money for 2 months. I do gig work. The big problem is that gig work now has become the only option for millions of people. So it's no longer something that you do while you're waiting for something better in life. This is pretty much what you can hope for in life. And when that happens, you are going to want to formalize it in a way that work would be formalized for you. Health insurances, fixed leave, a stable income. So the expectation from gig work now is of a formal job, which by its very nature in the beginning was not supposed to be. And that's how it makes money. Like, that is how Zomato Blinkit makes money. It's cheap labor. There's nothing to it. But that could work.
बस मुफ्त में इतना ही मिलेगा. For the full uncut podcast, subscribe to Newslaundry and pay to keep news free. The best way to listen to the Hafta and indeed all our podcasts is through the Newslaundry app. You can download the app by clicking on the links given in the show notes. So do download our app and get the best podcast experience. And also pay for news and support a new news media ecosystem that Newslaundry is trying to encourage, where we are accountable to you because we run on contributions that you make. We don't take government ads, we don't take corporations ads, so that news serves the public. Because when the public pays, the public is served. Subscribe to Newslaundry, click on the link in the show notes below, and proudly say, I pay to keep news free.